تقال العثار العظام به ويعود
There is a city in northeastern Iran where the air smells like rose water in revolution. Mashhad, the most sacred city in Persian world, a place where faith is not a choice, it is the ground beneath your feet. In a modest house in the old quarter of Mashhad on July 17, 1939, a boy was born into a family that had traded worldly ambition for religious learning for generations. His name, Ali Husseini Khamenei. His father, Jawad Khamenei, was a cleric of modest means. The family was not well off, but he would say later, sometimes there was not enough money for proper food, but there were always books. From earliest childhood, Ali was immersed in the Quran, in Persian poetry, in the grand classical text of Shia theology. He read the revolutionary philosophical work that were beginning to circulate in the seminaries of Qom and Mashhad, works that asked a dangerous question. If the Islam is the perfect system for human life, then why do Muslims live under tyranny? At age 18, Ali left Mashhad for Najaf in Iraq, then as now one of the great centers of Shia learning. Then he returned to Qum, the spiritual heartland of Iranian Islam. There he encountered a man who would change his life and eventually the world. Khamenei. Khamenei was not teaching theology, he was teaching resistance. He argued that the traditional quietist approach of Shia clergy, staying out of politics, deferring to rulers, was not only wrong, it was a betrayal of Islam itself. He sat in those lectures and was transformed. Here was a framework that fused his religious devotion with political purpose. Khamenei taught that the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was a puppet of Americans. Iranian Revolution did not begin in 1979. It began in those seminaries, in those cramped rooms, in those years when young men convinced themselves that God was on their side. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi ruled Iran with American support, Western financing, and the brutal efficiency of Savak, his secret police. He was modernizing Iran, yes, but at what cost? Residents were tortured, opposition was crushed, and a deeply religious population watched as their culture was systematically secularized. For a young religious kid like Khamenei, every luxury car in Tehran, every nightclub, every unveiled woman on Shah's Avenue was not progress. It was provocation, it was humiliation, it was war by other means.
From prison to exile, Ali Khamenei's conviction shaping a revolution.
In June 1963, Khamenei gave a famous speech comparing the Shah to the tyrants of Islamic history. He was arrested, the streets exploded, hundreds died, and a young Ali Khamenei, watching from Mashhad, knew that there was no going back. Khamenei threw himself into underground revolutionary activity. He distributed banned pamphlets. He gave secret lectures. He connected networks of resistance across Iran's cities and towns. And for this, he paid a price. Between 1963 to 1977, Khamenei was arrested 6 times by Savak. He was imprisoned, interrogated, and sent into internal exile. He was beaten, he was isolated, he watched friends disappear. But what Savak never understood, what no security operators ever seem to understand, is that imprisonment does not break true believers. It consecrates them. Every cell wall becomes a seminary, every interrogation becomes a confirmation of faith. They thought they were punishing me, they were educating me. Ali Khamenei, recounting his imprisonment years. Through the 1970s, the revolutionary movement grew. Khamenei became one of the most trusted lieutenants of Khomeini's inside Iran. While Khomeini operated from exile, first Iraq, then Paris, Khamenei was the organizational backbone on the ground. He was disciplined, loyal, and utterly convinced. And then came 1979, the year everything changed. The revolution, January to February 1979. On 1st February 1979, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini returned to Iran after 15 years in exile. An estimated 5 million people came to the streets to greet him. It was one of the largest mass mobilizations in human history. The revolution had made Khamenei powerful, but it had also made him a target. The bomb and the scar. Assassination June 27, 1981. The Mujahideen-e-Khalq, the MEK, were waging a war of assassination against the new Islamic Republic. They believed the clerics had hijacked the revolution and so they planted bombs. A bomb hidden inside a tape recorder at the party headquarters. 72 people were killed, including the party's Secretary General. Ali Khamenei was at the podium when it went off. The blast tore through the room. He survived, barely. The explosion shattered bones in Khamenei's right arm and chest. He lost the use of his right hand permanently, but still managed to smile. Those who study Khamenei say this moment was a psychological watershed. Before the bomb, he was a revolutionary idealist. After it, he became something harder, unable to break, something that understood power is not a gift of the revolution but as a fortress to be defended at any cost. An Iranian political psychologist said, when you have looked death in the face and survived, you either become grateful or paranoid, or both. 3 months after the assassination attempt, Ali Khamenei was elected president of Iran. He was 42 years old. The man with the withered arm had become the face of the republic. He showed us how a fearless leader should look like. President War in the Weight of Survival, 1981 to 1989. For 8 years, Iran and Iraq bled each other dry. Saddam Hussein, armed and financed by the United States, had launched a war of aggression against the new Islamic Republic. Ronald Reagan's administration provided Saddam with intelligence, weapons, and diplomatic cover, even as Saddam was using chemical weapons against Iranian soldiers. And here is where the story of Iran and America fractures beyond easy repair. Because Washington was not merely staying neutral, Washington was actively helping the man-gassing Iranian troops. This is not Iranian propaganda, this is documented history. Ali Khamenei was president, lived through every year of that war. He attended the funerals, he visited the front lines. He saw what American support for Saddam meant in bodies, in burned villages, and mother who never stopped crying. When he speaks of American hostility, and he speaks of it constantly, obsessively for the rest of his life, this is not abstract ideology. This is memory. The memories of the mothers who never stopped crying. This is a scar tissue over scar tissue. The Unexpected Succession, June 1989. Tehran, June 3rd, 1989. A nation holds its breath. Ayatollah Khamenei, the father of the revolution, the man who had defined Iran for a decade, has died. The question was not theological, it was political. It was urgent. Who would lead the Islamic Republic now that its founder was gone? The Assembly of Experts met in emergency session. The frontrunner was Ayatollah Montazeri, Khamenei's own designated hire, a man of deep religious learning and genuine reformist impulses. But months earlier, Montazeri had publicly criticized the mass executions of political prisoners. Khamenei had removed him. He was out. Cut to the assembly chamber, men in turbans and robes debating behind closed doors. Then the announcement. The man they chose was Ali Khamenei. He was not by any traditional Shia standard qualified for the position. The supreme leader was supposed to be a grand Ayatollah, a marja, a source of religious emulation for millions of believers. Khamenei was only a mid-ranking cleric, not a full Ayatollah. The constitution was amended overnight. Khamenei was promoted retroactively on paper to Ayatollah, and a man who had never expected this, who had survived a bomb, who had served loyally in the shadow of a giant, suddenly found himself standing alone at the top. Iran and America. A story which started with a partnership and turned into nightmare. To understand the hatred, you must first understand the intimacy. Before 1979, Iran and America were partners. The Shah was Washington's man in the Persian Gulf. American companies pumped Iranian oil. American military advisors trained the Iranian army. But first, let's go back further to 1953. 1953, the CIA and British intelligence, in an operation codenamed AJX, overthrew Iran's democratically elected government because Mossadegh had nationalized Iranian oil. He wanted the oil wealth to belong to the Iranians. Washington could not allow it, as America always wanted to get oil from any country in the world. Wherever they see oil, they became mad. The Shah was reinstalled. Savak was built with CIA help, and the seed of the revolution, the foundational grievance, the Khamenei and Khomeini, and every cleric in every seminary would cite for the next half century was planted. The Americans like to ask why Iranians hate them. They never ask what they did to make Iranians hate them. Iranian scholar, international relations. The nuclear question. Iran says its nuclear program is peaceful. West says it is a cover for weapons development. Both sides have reasons to believe what they believe. In 2015, after years of brutal sanctions that collapsed the Iranian rial and cut the country off from the global financial system, a deal was struck, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Iran agreed to limit its nuclear enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. It was imperfect, partial, but was real. It was verified by international inspectors, and for a brief moment, diplomacy had won. Then came May 8, 2018. Donald Trump, elected. Donald Trump withdrew the United States from the JCPOA, not because Iran had violated it. The IAEA had confirmed Iranian compliance, not because the Europeans asked him to, not because any credible security analysis recommended it, but because it was Barack Obama's deal. And in the Trump's worldview, anything Obama built must be destroyed. The withdrawal was one of the most consequential and least rational foreign policy decisions in modern American history. Its results were predictable and they came true. Level before the JCPOA around 20%, under the deal capped at 3.67%. After Trump's withdrawal, Iran began enriching to 60%, then to 83.7%, approaching weapons grade. The deal Trump killed was replaced with nothing. The sanctions he imposed hurt ordinary Iranians. They did not stop Khamenei, they never do. Sanctions are a blunt instrument that punishes the poor and strengthens the paranoid. And Khamenei, he watched the collapse of the deal as confirmation of everything he had always believed. America cannot be trusted. America will always choose confrontation, and the only language understands is strength. Martyrdom of Qasem Soleimani. January 3, 2020. Breaking news skyrons. A US drone strike at Baghdad airport, the death of General Qasem Soleimani, commander of the IRGC Quds Force, Iran's most celebrated and feared military operative. Trump again played his dirty politics and ordered the assassination of Qasim Soleimani because he's feared to face Qasim Soleimani. Soleimani was more than a general to Khamenei. He was the architect of Iran's regional strategy, the man who had built Hezbollah into a precision missile power, who had kept Assad in power in Syria, who had given Iran strategic depth from the Mediterranean to the Persian Gulf. His death was a blow, but it was also, for Khamenei's purposes, a gift, a martyr. The Israel question, the excess of antagonism Iran and Israel. Before 1979, Israel and Iran were quite partners. The Shah had food relations with Israel, SAVIC and Mossad cooperated. Iranian oil flowed to Israel. Israeli agriculture experts worked in Iran. The major issue always here is oil. Everyone knows that Iran is blessed with the natural reservoirs. Then came the revolution, and Khamenei transformed Israel, the state, the size of New Jersey, into the organizing principle of Iranian foreign policy, the little shaitan, to Americans' great shaitan. It served a purpose. It gave the Islamic Republic a coast that resonated across the Muslim world. Palestinian liberation as the flag under which Iranian ambitions could march.
And some people within the
October 7, 2023, Hamas launched the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. 1,200 Israelis killed, 250 taken hostage. The world recoiled in horror, and then the Israeli response.
We defend the struggle. We kiss the
Iran was the only country who dared to protect Israel, who stood alone in the whole Muslim world and took stand for Palestinian. It was all because of Khamenei.
Iran has not recognized
Three men, three visions. Khamenei, Trump, Netanyahu. Khamenei is 85 years old. He has ruled Iran longer than most of his subjects have been alive. He has outlasted every American president since George. He has outlasted wars, sanctions, assassinations, uprisings, pandemics. His biography is Iran's biography. The final chapter. February 28, 2026, Tehran, 6 a.m. local time. A joint US-Israeli military operation, codenamed Operation Epic Fury, struck 24 provinces of Iran simultaneously, targeting military infrastructure, nuclear facilities, and regime leadership. The world woke up to the unthinkable. And then came the confirmation that shook the earth. Iranian state media declared, "It is announced to the martyr-nurturing people of Iran that great Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Islamic revolution, was martyred in a joint attack by the criminal United States and the Zionist regime. This great scholar and fighter devoted his life to the elevation of Iran and Islam. Iran's government announced 40 days of public mourning in a week of national holidays. The man who had ruled 85 million people for 36 years. The man who survived a bomb in 1981. 6 arrests by SAVAK, 8 years of war with Iraq, decades of sanctions, multiple uprisings, was gone, killed at his desk in his office, not hiding, just standing in front line for his people. History will always remember him as the hero of the Muslim world, who stood alone against all the evils. He became the only hope for Palestinians, who spoke for the Palestinians, who stood firm and determined in the front line until he is martyred. It's a little tribute for Sayyid Ali Khamenei, May his soul rest in peace. And at last, I want to ask just a simple question. He is surely in safe hands, in a safe place now. But are we safe?